Amanda is dancing. Hey, welcome to today's episode of the Bible. Wait, what?
What? I love it.
Amanda's getting into the tune there. Hey, we're back. We're doing Luke 14 today.
Luke 14.
Still on the same time frame, 20 minutes an episode
yes.
tops.
However, we did already
touched on Sabbath yesterday.
Yeah, the first 6 verses. I read my notes yesterday for that one, so we can skip right over to 17.
Okay.
Sorry, verse 7, not 17.
Yep, go back and listen to our conversation on,
slow down,
on
Amanda.
Sabbath.
The healing on the Sabbath, yes. We already talked about that. But the next part we are talking about verse 17, verse 7. Gosh, I'm on fire. Verse 7 to 14, the parable of the wedding feast. Does this teach us humility?
Yeah, very much so. The NLT
literally says Jesus teaches about humility.
It's such an awesome parable.
But it's not the same in every version. No. Yeah.
It's such an awesome parable because I think every one of us can identify with this. Have you ever walked into a room and thought, I wonder where they've placed me? I wonder where I'm seated. I think there's something inside all of us that craves acceptance.
Yes,
definitely. And craves that desire to be recognised. And it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Because we are created with worth. We are created for significance. The problem comes when we look for that worth in the wrong place. And so this is such a clever example of that. You walk into a room. If you walk into a wedding, you look at the placing at the front of the, I wonder what table I'm on. I wonder how far that is away from the bride and groom's table, all that kind of stuff,
The singles table right at the back. Which is, I think that's awful that has become the like, oh no, I'm at the big singles table. I think that's the fun table.
That's the fun table. It probably is. So all of that is something we all experience. We go to conference and where do we get to sit and all that.
Yeah.
Now, it can it's at its root is pride. So back to what I was saying is that we are created to have worth and identity. It's just that we're supposed to get that worth and identity from affirmation from the Lord.
Yeah.
The Lord is the one who says, hey, you're my beloved son, you're my beloved daughter, I'm pleased with you. The problem is when we have a fractured relationship with the Lord, when we have grown up searching for significance in the wrong place, we then need to learn to find it in the right place. And that doesn't, even becoming a Christian and accepting that doesn't mean that we don't have to unlearn certain things. And so what happens is this inner desire for worth, it manifests itself in pride.
Yeah.
And it actually manifests itself in pride in 2 ways. You get people who want to sit at the front. I want to sit as close to the front table as I can. And you get others who go, oh, I'm not worthy of anything. I want to shine in the background. I want to sit as far back as I can. I don't want to be noticed at all. Ironically, both of those things are rooted in the same problem, pride. They're rooted in this lack of understanding of our worth in God. And so I like to say sometimes some people feel like the big fish in the small pond.
Yeah.
Other people feel like the little fish in the big pond. Neither is healthy. And so what Jesus is illustrating here in this parable is a healthy sense of self-worth that says, I am who I am because my Father loves me. I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect, but I'm confident that I'm deeply loved by my Father. Therefore, I can walk into the wedding and I don't really care where I sit. So I'm happy to sit down the back because, hey, if I'm actually being put at the back, I'm cool with that. And if I actually was supposed to be further at the front, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
I don't really care where I'm seated. I don't really care who recognizes me or not because my Father in heaven recognizes me. That's true humility. In John 14 or 15, it's the whole Jesus knew who he was, so he got up from the table and he put a towel around him and he washed his disciples' feet because he knew he was secure in who he was, where he'd come from, where he was going, and therefore he could serve. This is what Jesus illustrated humility in that washing of his disciples' feet. He teaches about it in this parable.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And I think we all can identify with it.
I think we can all learn and relearn this parable.
It's a lifelong journey of learning.
I don't think anyone should come to the point where they go, oh yeah, I'm done reading this passage. I've done enough of that. I was actually reflecting on my own humility, and as I was preparing for this, and I thought to myself, 5 years ago, I was a completely different person. But at the time, I didn't think I was super prideful.
Right.
But if I look back on who I was 5 years ago now, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm so glad God used opportunities to teach me to be humble.
Fantastic.
Over the years, because like if I could go back and tell 5 year ago me
how insecure you really were.
Yeah. Like and just I had no idea at the time.
Here's the kicker. I expect that, should we still be around in 5 years' time, we'll look back on today and we'll realise how insecure we were.
Exactly.
Because we are a work in progress, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing of pride comes before a fall, a haughty spirit before destruction. So let's not get to the point, like you said, where we think we've arrived. This parable, you made a point, you said it's something we should never stop reading because there is a part of us, just when you think you've got it mastered, someone will do something or say something that makes you feel like you're not respected or you're not recognised, and up come and when I say you, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
us, everyone.
Something will come to the surface that will make us realise, oh, there's still a little bit of that insecurity in there, which manifests in pride.
Yeah.
Because it's rooted in the fall. It's rooted in our choice to choose what's right for ourselves, and rather than learning to receive our affirmation from our Father. And it is an ongoing work. And the only person that has ever mastered is Jesus himself.
Yeah. I've heard you say a couple of times recently the phrase, take the heat.
Yes.
Even when it's not quite just for a person or yourself or me or someone to take the heat, sometimes it's just better to just take the heat, so to speak. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
I think it's what our reason is. So let's say taking the heat in this parable is to just be happy to sit right down the back of the auditorium, right? Sit down the back of the wedding feast, right? Why would I take the heat? Well, if I'm others focused, then there might be someone up the front who is more selfish than I am. But if I'm not worried about them getting their just desserts, if I'm not worried about them, if I can actually go, I can take it. I'm comfortable in who I am. I'm others focused now. I'm not wanting to defend my rights. I'd rather give up my rights for the sake of others.
That's good.
But we can only do that to the degree that we are secure in our Father's affirmation. We've got that, and if we've got no one else's affirmation, no one else in the world even, we can say, well, I've got my Father's affirmation, therefore I can take the heat because he will be my defender.
That's good.
He will judge between myself and others, so I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's good.
If failure to take the heat, like storming to the front and saying, hey, that's my seat, you deserve to be back there, it's just going to escalate the problem. It's not going to help anybody. So be others focused, but be others focused means taking the heat, which means you've got to be secure in who you are.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. There's a part in this little section that talks about inviting the poor, crippled, and the lame.
I didn't realise that was actually the same. It's pretty much follows on from the story, doesn't it?
Yes. And I have written a little arrow here connecting this part with the next part, which is the Great Banquet. But I'll get to that in a sec. I just thought I'd write here. Okay, so obviously we don't know. It's not actually saying invite the poor, crippled, and lame. Like go out and invite. Maybe you should invite a homeless person to Christmas. But
in this case, he's using a hyperbolic statement. But this feast, this host is obviously putting on a luncheon for his own glory. I'll host the rabbi. You come in, and he's focused on himself again. And Jesus is once again rebuking him and going, you're putting on the luncheon, you're putting on the feast for the wrong reason. It's all about you. And he said, you should be sitting down the back of the auditorium and honouring others. So, in other words, don't worry about – see, patronage was a very big thing in the Roman Empire in this time and in Jewish and Middle Eastern culture. A patron basically means it was favour-based. I'll invite you to my lunch and I'll serve you food, and in the process of serving you food, you'll speak well of me in public.
Right, yeah.
So it was all about keeping up appearances, keeping up with the Joneses, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
And Jesus is going, that's not kingdom.
Yeah.
Kingdom is don't worry about what anybody thinks about you. Go find people who are less off than you and do something to elevate them rather than doing favours to people so they'll elevate you.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus is getting
And in
at.
Jewish culture, the crippled and the people with leprosy, they were like unclean. You weren't allowed to associate with those people.
And Jesus is going, go after those ones.
And he's actually saying, no, you should be inviting them to your dinner party or to your Christmas lunch.
And I would argue that Jesus would actually say that was the covenant that the Jews were called to care for the vulnerable.
Yeah.
So that was a central part of their calling. So Jesus is elevating them when they are making it all about themselves, he's going, no, you need to be others focused. Look for those you can elevate rather than looking for those who can elevate you.
Yeah. I also thought that this was kind of a bit of a metaphor for the kingdom of heaven. So
Absolutely,
this feast is the kingdom of heaven.
Yep.
So I've written here, who in your life can you invite to something, whether it be Christmas lunch or Christmas Eve or Christmas Day service or the church picnic that's on the 12th of January. Yes, I'm plugging that right now. At Wollongong Botanic Gardens.
That's for
see our website. Yeah, C3 the rules. But all welcome. See our website for more details. Or the My King conference again. Something more information coming for a conference in February. But things like that. My point is, who in your life that is poor, crippled, and lame? So maybe not specifically and physically poor, crippled, or lame, but poor in spirit, as in they don't have a relationship with Jesus.
Yep.
That is the ultimate, right?
Yep.
And who can you invite to the greatest feast of all?
Come on.
The kingdom of heaven.
I love it. Inviting them into the kingdom life.
Yeah.
That is what it's about.
I wanted to put it back on our listeners and me too. I'm talking to myself.
Yep.
I was like, hold on a minute. I'm so focused on prepping for Christmas Day.
Yep.
So focused. Every spare minute I have, I'm listening to music and writing notes down and praying and thinking about it. But you know what? Not once have I thought, who am I going to invite to Christmas Day? So focused.
Yeah.
And I read this as I was prepping,
It's quite
and I went,
confronting, isn't it?
oof.
That's right. It is confronting because, and not just Christmas Day. We need to live our lives like this. We need to live our lives with this mentality of, who can I elevate? Who can I bring into my world? Because they need to experience the kingdom life. They've been invited into a great feast.
Yeah.
Everyone is invited.
Yeah.
And Jesus would say the weakest and the most vulnerable, they're the most invited of all.
Yeah.
So absolutely,
There's
very
fancy food. It's not just for me and you.
No,
it's
that's
for
right.
the ones that have never tasted and
You
seen.
got it. You got it. For sure.
So the Great Banquet, he goes on, verse 15 to 24. He describes all those that he invites, but it kind of reminded. It seemed like everyone had excuses.
Yep.
Well, they do. They all have excuses.
They all come up with excuses to why they can't go. Yep.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of when Jesus said, "It is the sick people who need a doctor,
Exactly
not the
the
healthy
same thought.
ones."
In fact, Jesus is really big on. Luke's gospel is very big on this thing of Jesus singling out the vulnerable, the outcast. It's a central theme that Luke puts into his narrative of Jesus' ministry. Look for those who everyone thinks is written off.
Yeah.
And he contrasts that with people who thought they were in, but they were actually out.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm too busy. I don't need to come to that feast. I've got my own stuff going on. Thanks very much. And Jesus was going, well, look, you were invited as well. Like back to what you said yesterday's episode. Pharisees were invited too. But if they go, no, I don't need that, Jesus will go, okay, well, you had your chance. Now, he says, for none of those I invited will even get the smallest taste of my banquet. Not because they recognize here they were invited, but they opted out. And he goes, okay, well, if you opt out, I'm going to go and find the ones who are opting in.
Yeah.
And Jesus is always looking for the country lanes, behind the hedges, find anyone who can come in.
Yeah.
I'm open to all. The gospel is available to all people.
Yeah. So moving on to this last part, the cost of discipleship. I guess this one's a bit of a heavier part, really, isn't it?
It's fundamental to the message of the kingdom life, though.
Well, verse 26, he's straight out saying, hate everyone, the opposite of love.
Okay, so
obviously it's saying putting the kingdom first.
Yes.
And, right?
Well, most scholars recognise that he's using a normal trope of or a rhetoric device of what's the word I'm after? Exaggeration. It's another term for it. They use. To basically hyperbole is the word I'm after.
Yeah.
To actually take it further. He's not saying hate. He's just using it in comparison to love.
Yeah. So we really should start off this little part with it does not mean to hate everyone.
No, he's using a well-known rhetorical device that all the prophets use. You see it all through the Old Testament prophets. They use these extreme language to illustrate a point, to get up in your face. And that's what he's doing. I mean, imagine the picture. He's walking along. He's got a crowd behind him. He turns around to him and he says, hey, if you want to be my disciple, you have to hate everyone else and come follow me, you know? He throws it out there to really challenge them. Even hate your own life, he says. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple.
Yeah.
And if you don't carry a cross and follow me, he's walking to Jerusalem. If you don't carry a cross and follow me, you can't be my disciple. What is he doing here? He's calling them on the significance of what it means to count the cost of discipleship. And I don't know that we always do a good job of that in the Christian church, especially in the West, where we've kind of been – sometimes we've preached a message that says come to Jesus and everything's going to be great, rather than come to Jesus, it's going to cost you everything.
Yeah.
It's free, but it's expensive at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. The gospel message is free and expensive. It's costly because it costs us everything to follow Christ, who gave up everything for us. And to be a true disciple, you have to count the cost.
Yeah.
You have to give up everything you have. And that's what Jesus is calling them on. It's true discipleship. But the irony of that in the upside down kingdom of God is Jesus says it, for it's when you give up your life that you find your life. If you want to find true freedom, true joy, true love, true shalom, like you preached about on Sunday, you only find that in actually giving up the very things that the world tells you will give you that in the first place.
That's good.
That's the upside down kingdom of God.
Yeah, that's good. It's actually so much better.
Oh, so much better.
What he has.
So freeing.
So much better.
It's far better to give than receive. The words of Jesus.
Yeah, that's good.
It's upside down kingdom.
Well, you've answered pretty much my only question.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right, let's do Luke 15 tomorrow then.
Cool. See you
All
tomorrow.
right, talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bible. Wait, what? Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And you can also find us on all the socials. Just search The Bible. Wait, what? And to find out more about our church, just search C3 Camden, C3 Picton, or C3 Thirroul on the web or on the socials. Thanks for being with us today, and we look forward to talking to you on the next episode of The Bible. Wait, what?